Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Paul and the Faithfulness of God by N.T. Wright. We're going to take a look at our recall triad for that central thesis study on what defines the righteousness of God. And we learned that it is equated with the faithfulness of God toward covenant, according to N.T. Wright and according to the Apostle Paul. So we're going to look at a recall triad. We'll take a look at block 1 and look at that concept of the righteousness of God, which is the kaiosune theou, the righteousness of God. The cross of Christ is God's event of faithfulness. The passion is for Paul movement of the Abraham covenant forward through the hupokoe obedience of Christ. For Paul, Christ is the true Israelite. And Galatians 2:16 should be translated not faith in the Messiah, but the faithfulness of the Messiah. Redemption comes through the faithfulness of the Messiah. So righteousness of God is equated with covenant faithfulness in redeeming all of creation. In block 2, we'll take a look at the concept of apolutrosis pascha, Lutrosis Pascha, the redemption as new Passover. Romans 3:23-26 is a central passage for Paul's shaping of the faithfulness of Christ. He uses the concept of endainuo, which means that Christ is the showing forth of the shape of God's faithfulness. The Christ event is the showing forth of the shape of the faithfulness of God. Hupokoe obedience is the form established through Christ's obedience toward the divine plan of salvation. Therefore, cross and resurrection become apocalyptic markers for redemption for Paul. We could add spirit there. Through the cross, resurrection, and spirit become apocalyptic markers for Paul's doctrine of redemption. So, faithfulness of God and redemption as new Passover lead to a new covenant theology for Paul in block 3. And this new covenant theology is founded upon 3 axioms. Number 1, God's righteousness is defined as his faithfulness in putting all of creation right. Second, boasting that Israel is the way of the new Exodus must be negated. The law of God's faithfulness reigns supreme for Paul, so that new righteousness and new law reach new fulfillment. And it's a new fulfillment as a histanomen, which means that Christ moves the Torah law forward under God's always intended purpose. Christ's faithfulness and redefined election lead to Paul's doctrine of justification as being in the Messiah, and that is an eschatological term for Paul. It means to be eschatologically living in the Messiah, living the eschatological life in the Messiah. That's how we live the justified life, moving toward sanctification. So our recall triad is going to be the kaiosune, apolutrosis, and diatheke. The kaiosune, the righteousness of God, apolutrosis, redemption as Passover, and diatheke, new covenant theology. The kaiosune, apolutrosis, and diatheke. That's going to wrap up a great lesson on the key thesis to the entire Paul project. It's 4 books in one, but pages 840 to 860 contain the thesis of N.T. Wright's project. And fundamentally, it's equating the righteousness of God with the faithfulness of God toward covenant and toward redeeming all of creation and putting creation right. Faithful toward putting creation right toward its intended purpose. That'll wrap up this recall triad, and we'll pick up next time on page 861.